Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the press conference of Manila of Superman. Today is going to be an amazing day, of course. After yesterday, we had an incredible day with the cast at the first Superman red carpet fan event. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us today, especially to our friends from the media and all of our content creators. Thank you so much for joining us as well today. And we know that some of you are from different regions as well and different countries. So welcome to the Philippines. Let's please welcome our cast on stage, playing Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan. That's it for Rachel, ladies and gentlemen. Superman himself, David Corenswet. That's it for David, ladies and gentlemen. The writer and rock star director of Superman, the legend, James Gunn! All right, guys, you can have your seats. Can we have Rachel over there on the left? All right, then we'll have David in the middle, and I'll be next to James himself. What's up, James? I get to be beside you.
Why is
Yo,
David,
what's up, man?
David's in the middle. We're both in the middle. But
you know
why
what?
is poor Rachel?
Technically, you're both in the
Why?
middle. Yeah.
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 I like it over here.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
How are you guys? It's good to be here in the Philippines. This is my first time.
Oh my gosh. And this is the first stop in your world tour. So can I just say, we're so honored about it.
Yeah,
right,
you guys
guys?
are getting us fresh. We look, wide awake and good. We're about to go to Brazil. We're going to be a little bit more tired
We've
there.
had about 16 cups of coffee and we're ready to party with you.
Yeah, then we're going to go to England. They're going to get a worse version of us. Then Paris. We're going to be nightmares.
I'm sure you'll be fine. Do you think, guys? Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Okay, now we did tell you earlier on that that would be your only chance for photos and videos. So in the count of three, all cameras down. 3, 2, 1. They're put to rest. Just like the good old days, back in the day, you know what I mean? Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start our Q&A over here. And we've all seen the sneak peek of Superman. How many of you guys got to see the sneak peek last night at IMAX? Yeah? You guys enjoy it? That was amazing, right? You guys excited? I'm be straight with you. I usually stay away from watching trailers because I want to just watch the movie with all its glory. But when I watched this one, I was like, I'm excited, James Gunn.
These trailers have been great. They give almost nothing away about the movie, and yet you really feel like you know what the movie will feel like and what it's about. But there's so much in the movie that honestly, even seeing the first 30 minutes, there's so much that you haven't seen.
Oh, yeah, 30 minutes is nothing. It's
amazing.
It's the next hour and a half. Doing the trailers was really hard. Like, it was like the first couple versions of the trailers came out, from the guys, and they just weren't working because they didn't feel like the movie. And so we just kept working, and eventually we got there, and that's what you see today.
And we're so excited to see the rest of it. We were absolutely stoked last night. People were screaming, shouting, Superman, Superman.
Such a great idea to put that in the trailer, because then it gives people that idea. It gives them something to chant.
And now we get the chance to do a little bit of a deep dive with you guys about the film and about the trailer footage that we've seen so far. So let's start with James, okay? Rewind just a little bit. Before you started making movies and before the DCU, two-part question for you here, James. What did Superman mean to you when you're growing up or even as a young storyteller? And now that you're the one telling the story, has anything surprised you or changed about how you see Superman and your connection to him?
Well, I always liked the character of Superman. I started reading Superman comics when I was 3 and 4 years old. And I loved a lot of superheroes, both DC and Marvel superheroes. But I do have to say, I'm sitting here today not because of my dream, but because of the dream of Peter Safran, who's right back there.
Big round of applause.
Who has been bugging me for 10 years to try to make a Superman movie. And people have been coming to me with it, and it wasn't until one day that I just saw what the movie could be in my head, how it could be a different sort of Superman. It could be the Superman that I fell in love with from the comic books. When I was a kid and I read the comics, I didn't start reading, comics when I was a child and enter a world where there was only Superman and his origin story. I didn't know the origin story for a long time. I saw Superman in a world of superheroes with friends that were superheroes and a Daily Planet gang and a flying dog and giant monsters and this other world that I just became enmeshed as a child, even before I could read, and falling in love with those images. And so I wanted to create that feeling I had as a young child in a film that both children and adults could enjoy, where it is this other universe, but that is still grounded with real stakes, real people who have issues and problems and relationships, things that flaws, things that change about themselves, things they don't want to change because they're stubborn. And so it's I think that it was a joy to me, the joy of my life really, to be able to bring Superman to the screen in this way and not change a thing about the character, just give him more life and more ideas about who he is, and focus on a time that we haven't really focused on the character when he's falling in love.
Ooh. We're big on love here in the Philippines. The love teams and everything like that. But you know what? Before we get to that, love teams. But before we get
Wait.
to
Tell
Yeah.
me
What's
more
a
about
love
the
team?
teams.
All right. Oh my God. All right. Okay. So here in the Philippines, a big thing is that they're gonna pair up two actors. All right, and they'll be romantically linked their entire careers. That's a love team. That's a love team.
You are so
leaving
her hanging right now.
That's why you should never sit on that side.
All right. Now before we touch on the love team aspect, right? I saw in an interview, James, that your directive for David as he was preparing was work on your shoulders and work on your vulnerability. Now, our question for you, David, is...
I think he said that sentence just because he knew that it would be a good story in press.
No,
be a great headline.
Those were the two things you needed to work on. I didn't say it.
It was just too good a line. I don't know. It just felt like,
It sounds awesome. It sounds like that's your Instagram caption right there. But David, can you tell us a little bit about how you handled the responsibility?
Yeah, well, a lot of side lateral delt lifts, and then you
This
got to
way
do your
too,
overhead shoulder press.
Yeah.
And
You cry about it.
well, so I started at the gym. The gym was the first place I started because soon after we had this conversation, the actors went on strike, and so James and I did not talk for several months. And we had no contact with the studio for the several months. And so all I had was my own really decision. James had very kindly said, "You're in good shape, but I want you to work on your shoulders." So it sounded to me like a pretty, minor request. He didn't say, "Look, God, you're a skinny guy and you got to put on a lot of weight." But that was my thought, was, as in Christopher Reeve's words, I've been a stringed bean my whole life, and Superman is not a stringed bean. And so I decided that I wanted to, as soon as I could, put on as much weight as I could reasonably and healthily. And I had sort of wanted to do that my whole life. I've always felt a little bit skinny, like I couldn't quite fill out a t-shirt, and so I was really excited about that. But in that new level of gym commitment, 5-6 days a week, 2.5 hours, 3 hours in the gym, which I had never done before in my life. All my time was spent eating or thinking about eating or digesting or in the gym or sleeping after the gym. But in the gym, in my hour, 90 minutes or 2 hour mark, I felt deeply alone because in that moment it is just you and the weights. And I had a great trainer, but he was only on FaceTime, so I could turn him off if I really needed to. But ultimately, when you take on a physical transformation like that, it's just you against your own mind, and whether you're going to get that extra rep in, or do that extra set, or stay those extra 20 minutes to do your shoulders at the end of a long push day. in that moment, you feel very alone, even while you're at the gym with other people. And so that was the first moment that I felt like I tapped into a central thing about Superman, which is that he struggles with feeling lonely and feeling isolated and alienated from the people he loves the most and the people he wants to be closest to. Lois and his colleagues at the Daily Planet and his adopted parents and his birth parents, and ultimately humanity. He wants desperately to be a part of them and to be connected to them, and he knows and feels that he ultimately isn't quite like them and fears that he isn't connected to them. And that, I thought, what a universal human experience, to be surrounded by people and to feel lonely. So that was my first way into the character.
And, since this is not an origin story, was it challenging for you to portray that? We're like 3 years into his journey as Superman, yeah? Was it more challenging for you that it wasn't an origin story?
No, it made it easier, because it's not that the origin story isn't important in the film. In fact, it's a big part of the film. It's just that we didn't have to see it play out. In the same way that you don't have to see, when you start with a character that means something in the public consciousness, you don't have to explain that they were born at this time in this place and they,
Oppenheimer was born
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Hey, we know his origin story.
So the origin story plays a central role in the character's development and his crisis in this film. But it's much more fun to just jump into the middle where you're getting your ass kicked and you got to get back to the fight. That's a really straightforward and easy thing to play as an actor. And then the next thing that happens is, breaks into his girlfriend's apartment, and then that's like, that's another great. It's a thing happening right now, and the stakes are about this moment and what's happening between us, and does she like me, or does she hate me, or is she going to let me off the hook or not? And as an actor, that is so much easier to play than, well, this moment's important because it's going to be important in 20 years when he finally becomes Superman. So I was very grateful to James for being willing to take that leap.
Thank you so much. And speaking of that leap, we're going to leap over to the girlfriend's, the owner of the apartment which you broke into. Rachel, you're playing a journalist in this one, probably the most famous journalist, fictional journalist ever. Can you please wave at all the journalists who are here as well? Yeah. They love you.
Thank you for your work.
Now, it is 2025, so so how do you modernize Lois Lane in a world where the definition of journalist evolves rapidly?
I've said it before, but Lois is one of the characters that's evolved the most in the history of these comics. The way she looks has evolved. The sort of primary lens on who she is has evolved. Sometimes it's more about her relationship with Superman. Sometimes it's heavier on her role as a journalist. And we talked a lot, and I think one of the first questions I asked James before the audition maybe was, where does she fit into the canon of this character that is so familiar to so many of us and probably to so many of you? And you really talked about the importance of her journalism. But also, James laid this beautiful roadmap in that I was really attracted to this version of the character because it feels equally weighted. You have a superhero who has superpowers, and you have this character who's a superhero in her own right. She's an everyday superhero. And just like Superman, she's not knocked off balance very easily. She can logic her way around just about anything. She's 10 steps ahead of everyone else. And then along comes this thing that she couldn't have seen coming, that she can't logic her way out of, and it totally knocks her off her feet. And
True love.
True love. And as far as her modernism, I mean, we talked a little bit about what that would look like today. What it means to show up professionally to the office looks a little bit different today than it did even 10 years ago. And so we talked about what she would look like as somebody who's always going to chase a story to the ends of the earth, who puts work at the moment we meet her kind of first and foremost in her life. What does her apartment look like? What does she look like? How does she express herself through her clothes? And that meant a lot of flat shoes.
Was that a relief, the flat shoes?
Oh my
Yeah.
It's a relief
God,
for
you
me.
have no idea.
worried that she was going to be as tall as me.
Yeah, sure.
David insisted on it, actually. I remember there was a pair of boots that had a heel about this high. And David was like, I don't like the boots. I'm not feeling the boots. And I ended up in shoes that had absolutely no heel at all. And I spent the entire movie, quite literally, looking up David's nose.
Hence the hashtag look up.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. That's where it came from.
Gotcha. Now, all right, so as a journalist, imagine you're Lois Lane right now, okay, and you need to write a headline.
Put me in, coach.
If you were to write a headline about your visit here in Manila, what would that headline be? She's observing the room.
I'm observing the room. See, this is why I only play one in the movies. I'm gonna wait. Can I ask?
Like asking me to fly across the room.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I ask? Can I phone a friend?
Phone a friend, sure.
Okay. Who's gonna pitch me the strongest headline in
Oh,
this
I
room?
like that.
Anyone? What's the headline for our visit, for kicking off our tour here in Manila?
Journalist, it's your time.
Who's got
shine.
it? Journalists? Come on, rise to the occasion. Give
This
it to
guy's
me.
thinking. I can see this
Someone
guy.
pass-
He's got a
The
little
guy with the
claw.
yellow sun.
no,
I
no,
saw
no.
over here.
Oh,
Wait,
she's thinking.
We've got a
MJ
friend.
Marfori.
Come here.
MJ.
Here, come. Take this mic.
Oh, you do it. Okay.
Take that one.
Thank you, Rachel.
From Metropolis to Manila, Superman lands to steal Pinoy hearts.
Hey.
That's actually my column headline tomorrow.
Nobody take it. It's hers.
And that's why
the
you
deadline.
do what you do. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
I love how that worked out. It's a teaser for your thing tomorrow as well. Great. Oh, God.
Well done.
MJ,
But
great
seriously,
job.
it's been so wonderful to be here, and you all have such great enthusiasm and energy, and the fans we had last night were fantastic. I've never experienced anything like this. This is my first tour like this, and what a way to start it.
Man, I was telling David, I was like, because he said that backstage, and I was like, you should definitely come back. They should come back, right, guys? Yeah.
2 days is too short.
Well, we might come back. Maybe we'll come back with the couples and go on a little Manila
Love
Filipino-
team.
Go
Love
to the-
team, love
go-
team.
Yeah, love team.
Bring all the love teams.
Now, these guys write about the love teams. I think it's time for us to open up the floor for our questions, and we're going to go straight to the press, actually. So, from the Philippine star, Charmaine Pagulo. Hi, Charmaine.
Hello. Yeah, good
Hi.
evening.
Woo!
So, for everyone, what was that day like on set when David put on that full Superman suit in front of the cast and crew for the first time? Any memorable reactions or comments?
Well, I know Nick Holt had like these. He was like, his teeth were chittering, and he had these big puppy dog eyes, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy! Superman's here." I think the cast and crew. David walked out, and he's got the full regalia on, and people were like, just wow. I remember
It was emotional.
Yeah, we had a couple of actors visiting at us, and they were like freaking out, and it felt like Superman. It's like every day with him on set, and especially when we went out in public, it's like Santa Claus, right? So Santa Claus comes, and every kid in the world, just brightens up, and that's what it was like with you. But for me, it was like, I don't know, the suit needs to be clipped there, it needs to be changed here, I need to change this. Oh, the S symbol isn't exactly right. I got to change the S symbol. So my experience wasn't quite as magical as everyone else's.
But every adult became a kid again. Like, I had those moments over and over and over again. I feel like David was so over it by the end of this, but I've told this story now so many times, but I'll never forget walking through, I don't think I can say where we were without spoiling anything, but we were walking through a field at night. It was like something out of a movie. The moon was a paid actor in this scene, and we were walking through this field. It had been a long day, and the Superman cape was flowing in the wind. This is like 3/4 of the way through shooting. And I ran up to David and was like, dude, you're Superman. And he was like, yeah, I know. By that point. But I feel like we all had those moments throughout shooting where every once in a while, just at the point when you start to get used to it, it suddenly feels real, and every adult becomes a kid again. And we haven't seen the movie yet, but can only hope that everybody watching gets that same experience that we all had.
I think we will. I think
And that's
it's
by
safe to
their
say.
choice. They haven't seen it. We've invited them to see the movie, but they want to have a special experience at the world premiere, so they're going to do that. But you guys are invited to watch it before then if you And I
Let's
know,
hear it.
Rachel, you hate watching yourself on screen. I forgot about that.
I never do, but actually Nick texted me. I think there was a period where you were coming through LA and maybe you guys had offered, and Nick texted me and said, should the three of us watch it together? And then I had FOMO, and I was like, well, if it works out, I guess we'll watch it together. And it didn't work out that we were all there, but I think the best time to see it for the first time is going to be with a full audience at our world premiere on the big screen. That's the way to do it.
No.
And I'll only hide a little bit every time I'm on screen.
And we can't wait to see you play that iconic journalist, Lois Lane. So, speaking of which, we actually have a question for you from Oscar Oida of GMA. Yeah, Oscar.
Yes, guys, let me start by saying thank you. Thank you so much. As a big Superman fan, a reporter, and married to a reporter, she's over there.
Let's hear it for, oh, it's our superstar
Yeah.
back there.
Let's hear it for this love team.
Wow, what's it like being married to such a wonderful, famous woman?
With the best headlines in the biz.
Mike gonna be a little, yet very moved. Sorry. Okay, for David, as a journalist in the film, playing Clark Kent, how did portraying someone who hides a world-changing secret while working in a newsroom go into shaping your understanding of the role, especially when he's also in love with a fellow reporter?
Well, there are versions of Clark Kent where he is really an intrepid reporter, and he's on Lois Lane's level, or even more impressive as a reporter than she is. I don't think. Well, wait.
Never more impressive.
Wait.
No.
Wait.
Does he have a Pulitzer?
I don't think that's the version we were doing. In our version, Lois Lane is the star reporter, and actually on the day that we meet our characters, I think the idea is that Clark has gotten his first front page piece on that day. And that's a huge day for him. He's never gotten the front page. He hasn't won the awards that Lois has won. He really is cosplaying as a journalist. That's his thing, is like he wants to hang out with these guys. He needs to have a day job. He needs to, be able to fit in that way. He loves journalism. He loves the idea of journalism, but he's not a serious journalist, at least yet, in the way that Lois is. And he'd like to think that he is, and that's why he has this little, this ace up his sleeve, which is that he has a very personal relationship with Superman, which certainly helps a journalist if you have access to somebody like that. But there are these great ethical questions that get brought up there.
Imagine if Tom Cruise had another life as a journalist where he was wearing glasses. He couldn't be recognized, of course, because if you put on glasses, and then he was putting out interviews with Tom Cruise all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not certain that doesn't happen.
It is kind of,
To a point, it's funny, and then once you start dealing with real world issues, then it becomes a serious question of ethics and journalistic integrity. And that's what I love about that interview scene, is that it starts as Clark thinking that Lois is going to play his game with him, and it ends with Lois making it very clear that we're playing her game, and I'm not getting out of it without taking a little bit of a whipping.
Man.
Not integrity.
Thank you.
Can we give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today.
What?
I know.
We want to stay.
I
You're
know.
making us leave.
No, that's making us leave.
No,
We
it's
blame
you.
the
You
machine.
No, that says Justin, keep him there, and Justin's like, I got stuff to do. I got to go home.
See, I don't know.
Nope, that's
It
not what
says
it
wrap up. It says wrap up. So yeah, can we give them a big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen? We would love to have you
Thank
here
you.
all day, and we're so excited to see the film. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for Rachel Brosnahan, David Corenswet, and James Gunn. Don't forget, Superman is landing in cinemas on July 9 here in the Philippines, so don't miss out on this epic new chapter. Once again, I'm Justin Quirino. Thank you so much.
You guys are the best.
Thank you,
You're the
guys.
best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, really, this has been so wonderful the whole time we've been here. Everybody here has been so great. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We love you. Thank you for all the hearts you guys were giving me. I
Thank
saw
you
all
very
of you. Thank you. Love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.